Realism has been around for centuries, with loads of famous artists dedicating their lives to drawing as true to life as possible. Think about Monet, Rembrandt, or Michelangelo, and some of their art has been hailed as the greatest artistic masterpieces in history. So, if realism was considered the most respected art form back then, why isn't it anymore? When we talk about realism, we're talking about drawings that try to show the world as it is, so art that is technically accurate. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, why paint realistically when you can just print it out? A few of the portraits that I have been commissioned to paint include people or animals who are no longer with us, and I've been asked to draw them in. The ability to create art that honours those who have passed away in a way that looks true to who they were in real life is such a powerful and emotional thing. Just because an artist paints something in the way that it looks in real life doesn't mean that there's no deeper meaning behind it. Realism reflects the human experience, and when it comes to portraits like this, it can serve as a comforting reminder that their loved ones will always be with them. I love to paint portraits that look three-dimensional on a flat surface to create this illusion and make it feel alive. One of my favourite things about realism is that it proves that the subject doesn't always have to be extraordinary or magical. It proves that the art can be found in the ordinary things around us and can show us important in the little details that we might normally overlook. Now, I'm a realistic artist, but I didn't always start off that way. I started off with cartoons inspired by my favourite TV shows like Winx Club and Totally Spies, and moved on to comic strips inspired by Beano. But as I started to take drawing more seriously, I focused on the technical stuff to learn the fundamentals in a way that I hadn't done before, and I loved it so much that I just kept drawing realism. It's easy to argue that realism isn't as imaginative as other art forms, but I completely disagree. It's not about copying, no matter how close it looks to the reference. Realism is about creating an illusion and making a flat surface look three-dimensional, especially when it comes to hyperrealism. So to give you an example, with this portrait of Lewis Hamilton that I painted, it's realistic enough that I feel like I'm celebrating with him every single time I look at it. Stylized or other forms of art is like peering through a window into their world, but realism is about bringing these characters into our world. So saying that it's not as imaginative enough really depends on how you use that reference. If you draw something identical to the reference, then yes, that is less imagination but more skill. But if you create a portrait that's inspired by the reference, that's more imaginative. But these are both still realism. I like the idea of cutting into my portraits and making them appear more painterly and traditional with digital art. I like rendering the background in a way that raises questions or putting characters in situations that are almost comical. But again, this is still realism. I love the satisfaction of solving puzzles and fixing problems, and I feel the exact same way when it comes to realistic paintings. That feeling of spending hours, sometimes days, trying to capture someone's likeness and then eventually getting it right is just so satisfying. But why isn't this viewed as real art? I don't get it. I find it really interesting that there was once a time where realism was considered the ultimate goal in art, but now people don't even consider it to be an art form anymore. Honestly, I think it's because the industry has become a lot more saturated with so many new artists and art styles coming forward. Realism is arguably the only one that has stayed consistent. So, for example, you could be a cartoonist, right? But your cartoons compared to another artist's cartoons would look completely different. Same with stylized art, comic art, even caricatures. But when it comes to realism, my art and someone else's art would look very similar. But it's still art, right? I'm still creating something. Maybe the word we're looking for is actually creativity. Is realism creative? Now I would argue yes it is. Because I can still take any brush and manipulate it however I want to. I can switch mediums whenever I want to, just like other art styles. And every time it will still be as realistic as I want it to be, and it will always look different. Every artist needs to know the technical theory in order to create, no matter your art style. We just happen to practice it more, and that's okay. This is my art style and I love creating true-to-life drawings. Does this lack creativity to you? Even hyperrealism is creating illusions and tricking the eye. I guess it's sort of like what magicians do. Is that not creative? At the end of the day, if you enjoy painting in realism or semi-realism, stylized, abstract, cartoons, whatever, then just go ahead and do that. You have to do what makes you happy, and if that's drawing people exactly as they are and as hyper-realistic as possible, then go for it. Realism is one of the hardest art styles because of the sheer amount of technical knowledge that we need to have. But just because it involves more theory or more obvious theory, does that make it less fun or more restrictive? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to see more stuff like this. I've got a lot of regular content coming out once a week where I give art advice, tutorials, and will help you fix your art. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.